Hey, Twisted listeners, I'm Cindy.
And I'm Diva.
And this is Twisted Listeners, a podcast about murder.
And Liz.
And this is a new topic. It is, I don't know how to say it, just murders involving paranormal stuff.
The murders of the paranormal.
Yeah, because it's not
Something like that.
all solved because of ghosts, but it's also, I don't know, there's ghosts involved. How about that? That should be the name of it. There's ghosts involved. With an exclamation point.
Paranormal murders. Yeah,
paranormal
I think
murders.
ghosts happen. Yeah.
Ghosts happen. Like shit happens. Ghost happens. I love it. Okay, we're gonna get into it. Do we have anything to talk about? Oh, we do have something to talk about.
No.
You said you're fine with talking about it anytime.
What? Oh.
So we're gonna try to pre-record some episodes and have stuff ready for January. Because
yes. Oh, I didn't know I was making a big announcement.
I didn't know you were either. I just remembered we should do it. Is that okay?
Oh, well, yeah, I'm having a baby in December, so I will be hopefully, we could, like Cindy said, hopefully we can record some stuff in advance, so when I'm deep in the craziest times, we can have some shit preloaded for you guys, so it's not too much of an interruption.
Yeah, and then if it continues where she needs a little bit more time, I'll just do some solo episodes, which are never as popular because everybody really comes here for Diva, but...
no, I love your solo episodes. I listen to them. I get very excited. And also, they're always great. They're just, closer to the holidays or closer to my birth time, we should do murders of pregnant women.
Oh my god, I love that you wanted to.
Because I'm tasteless.
You are.
Or the babies are cut out of the womb, like those classics.
You're very
let's do it.
This. Yeah. All right, I'm in. You have to pick it though, because it feels wrong if I do. So officially, it has to be your list. Yeah.
I'll do it. I also wanted to do murder. I wanted to also do murders who were themselves pregnant, which could be fun.
Ooh, that's a good one. I feel that. As a formerly pregnant person, I can absolutely understand murdering someone.
Oh, there's some hormonal moments. You get a little grumpy sometimes.
It's crazy. Like, it's really like... And listen, I'm not one of those men who are like, women are hormonal. It's like, yeah, when you're growing an entire...
No, you actually are.
Like, you actually are. And it's fucking rough.
Yeah.
Like, and you get all the space you need for those times.
I sliced the squash, wrong the other day, and I thought I was going to, I had to, sit down. I had to, take 2 minutes because I thought I was going to lose my mind. Little things can, really set you off, you know?
They really can. They really can. I love that. I love those 2 topics. We should absolutely do them. But for now, let's get into some ghosty shit because it's Halloween.
Yeah, it's Halloween. So the happiest time of year. All the songs that say that about Christmas are wrong. It's this time. This is the happiest time of the year. And I'm currently full of anxiety about, can we get through every horror movie ever made before the end of the month? But it doesn't matter because we watch them all year round, but still.
Yeah.
Okay. We're working our way through werewolves right now. Every werewolf movie. It's been great.
I love a werewolf movie. They're so good.
Yeah, they're so good.
Enjoy it.
Not enough of them. Not enough of them though.
It's true, because there's nothing sexy about werewolves, and I think everybody wants a sexy angle. And
they're definitely kind of stinky and dirty. They're not sexy.
They're disgusting. Yeah. They're animals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so back to ghosts.
Okay, ghosts.
Okay. So I am doing one of the most famous, clearly iconic ghost murder stories, that of a lady with an incredible name, Elva, Zona, Heaster, Shue. She has 4 names.
Oh, also shout out to Elva.
Elva, yeah. She's also known as the Greenbrier Ghost. So spoiler alert here.
Okay.
So this happened in Lewisburg, which is in Greenbrier County, West Virginia, in 1897. So we're going back to old timey. I think yours is old timey as well.
Too. Yay!
A lot of the ghost murders were old timey. Although I tried to pick I found a bunch that weren't. So my second one will be modern. But
mine's modern. My second one is modern too. But I feel like ghosts were definitely more of a thing before television.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
when
I
TV
think
came
like
around, people were like,
also nowadays no one is letting a ghost be part of a murder trial, but in the 1800s,
it
yeah,
was
absolutely.
still, yeah, that
Yeah.
was like a really
Yeah.
good, yeah, yeah.
It's not to say that they couldn't be or shouldn't be now. It's just not going to fly. You know,
Right, right. It
people are more
probably won't go
skeptical.
over well. Yeah, they'll be like,
Yeah.
"Are you going for an insanity defense?" It's like, no,
Yeah.
this is
Not
real.
allowed. So at this time, in rural southeastern West Virginia, say circa 1897, I just wanted to set the picture here and tell you that there's not a lot of stuff or people.
Okay,
It
yeah,
is very
I imagine
empty. It's
desolate, if you
basically a
will.
loose group. Yeah, it's a loose group of white settlers who live on Shawnee and Cherokee land.
Yep.
And the Shawnee and the Cherokee are kind of very much still like, what the fuck are you guys doing here? Like, this is very awkward, right?
Wait, really
Um,
quickly, I'm so sorry. Can I just do that thing that we got a bad review for and interrupt with a really quick story? Really quick. I
yeah.
saw a listing on Redfin today for a house, and they took the weirdest approach I've ever experienced. They were like, "You're gonna love this place because it's on Tongva land, and like you can experience the rich culture of the native peoples that used to live in the river in your backyard." And I was like, "That
Okay.
is a bold
Okay.
approach, my friend." Okay,
It's
I just had
very
to say
much
that.
like no, it's interesting to think like, okay, I'm doing a land acknowledgement, but then I'm going to use it as like a selling point for you settling it.
Yes, yes,
That's
and to like
bold.
make
Yeah.
money. Very
Yeah.
neoliberal. Felt very white
Yeah,
to
yeah.
me.
I
Mhm.
once was asked to look at a land acknowledgement someone sent me, and I will not say who, and it was like basically saying like, "Thanks, Native people, for letting us use your awesome land." And I'm like, I think you're missing the point. The point is they
Yeah.
didn't.
They didn't?
They
This is
didn't,
supposed to be like an apology for taking it without
and they
permission?
don't want
Like,
you to. They don't want you to flatter how good the land is. They want it back.
they want you to give it
So
back to them. Like, oh my
thank
god,
you.
but
This
anyway, I'm
land is
so
like
sorry.
so good. We love this land. It's awesome.
Thanks so much. I'm so sorry if you missed it. It's ours now. God
Anyway,
damn.
so the
Anyway,
Shawnee and
okay,
the
sorry.
Cherokee, who later would be subject to the Trail of Tears, are also here.
Yeah.
And or no, I think they already were by this point. Never mind, I know history. They already were. But some Shawnee and Cherokee folks are here. The settler population at this time is between 18 and 20,000 people for the whole
Oof.
county.
Mhm.
And today it is a whopping 32,000. So West Virginia has not experienced a ton of growth.
Wow, that's actually pretty
Um,
crazy.
Not a lot. No.
Hmm.
It's a really interesting place. I actually got in a weird like YouTube wormhole with West Virginia. There's like fascinating people who go to like the Ozarks and places in West Virginia where the opiate crisis like devastated it, and it's
Mhm.
fucking insane. It's like ghost town after ghost town. It's like a creepy ass place.
I drove through West Virginia and two things happened to me.
Yeah.
One, I was so fucking bored I wanted to stab my eyes out. And two, I stopped at a gas station and there was a like a card table that was like folded out in the middle of the gas station with four white old men sitting around it
Hmm.
playing cards. And you could tell like they came to this gas station every day to hang out with each other and get
Yeah,
away from
that's
the
the
wives or
thing.
whatever. And they
That's the
were
thing they
speaking
do.
English, but their accents were so thick that I could not make out what they were saying. And I was like,
Yeah.
"Holy shit, like, I am far
Different
from
it's
my
like in a
home."
different country. Yeah,
It
it's
really
totally
is.
crazy.
Anyway.
Also it's the home of Mothman.
Oh, I know, so
West
cool.
Virginia. Yes.
But can confirm
So
it's
anyway,
very desolate, yeah.
it is, yeah. So Edward S. Shue, Shue, is our village blacksmith in Lewisburg. He was married to Elva Shue. He had been married twice previously, and I don't not going to come back to this, but apparently both of his prior wives died suddenly.
Oh, okay.
Just going to note that.
Okay.
Edward and Elva also got married very quickly, which I think might be normal given 1890s like courtships or whatever the fuck. But
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
still, you didn't date for like
Mhm.
3 years back then. It was
Yeah.
like okay. In early January 1897, Elva became mysteriously ill, and Edward was described as being really doting on his sick wife and being like, "Oh, what's up? Well, I'm so sad." Um, so Anderson Jones, introduce another character here,
Mhm.
is a black man who lived nearby, and he will later tell us about this time in Lewisburg when he was about 11 years old, 12 years old,
Mhm.
and Edward came by his and his mother's home to ask if little Anderson would do some chores because his wife Elva couldn't, right? Because she was sick.
Mhm.
So he's like, please come by the house. And Anderson's mom is like, he's got some other shit to do right now. Like, maybe later, go away. But
Mhm.
then Edward Shue is like really fucking pushy about it and is like, no, can Anderson please come in the house? Like, please, please, please.
Mhm.
And he actually comes back 4 times total that day, pressuring this little black boy to go to his fucking house. Anderson's
What
like,
the
fucking
fuck?
fine. Around 1 p.m., he's finally like, okay, Jesus Christ. So Anderson described that when he got to the Shue home, the vibes were off. He
Okay.
did not like it. He saw a trail of blood from the front steps leading into the kitchen and followed it to the dining room, where eventually he stumbled on the body of Elva Shue.
Okay.
He said that her eyes were open, and hauntingly, he said it almost looked like she was laughing, like mid
Ugh.
laugh.
Oh, oh, that's so horrible. That like
Yeah,
took a second. Ugh.
yeah.
Eerie.
Um, she's definitely dead and stiff and whatnot. So Anderson said he ran to go tell Mr. Shue that he had found Elva's body.
Mhm.
And he says that Edward ran over and grabbed her, took her in his arms. He was screaming and crying, being very dramatic and upset.
Mm.
When the doctors arrive, her husband or Edward is holding her, and during the doctor's attempt to examine her and her body, kind of to see what the fuck happened, somehow Edward here gets away with continuing to aggressively hold her body and head so that the doctor and insist that the doctors not actually examine it.
That's not suspicious at all.
He's just like, I'm so upset I have to hold her head specifically. Whatever you do, don't look at it,
Don't
though,
look at her
please.
head that I'm holding
It's,
suspiciously.
yeah. So he's also dramatically crying out and praying the whole time. He's like praying that God would resurrect her. And the doctors are
Like,
kind of like,
come
oh,
on. Like,
all right.
bro.
Guess we're not looking at her head that closely or her neck or anything.
Guess we're
Just
not
like,
doing that.
guess we're not doing our jobs. So despite that weird encounter, the doctors determined she died of natural causes, and they determined this
Oh,
pretty quickly.
okay.
They say in a very 1897 Turner phrase, quote, "It is an everlasting fate. Her heart has failed." Okay, everlasting fate is great.
That's
Her
a weird, that's like a band name.
everlasting fate. Yeah, that is a good band. No,
Everlasting
you're right.
Faint. That's like a really
It's a
good like
really good band.
screamo band or something.
Or I feel like it would be like a soft, like whiny indie band,
Like
actually.
just an emo band, no screaming.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
could see that.
yeah.
Everlasting Faint. Dude, the way they used to talk, like what happened to our educational system that now we're just
No,
like,
I know.
that's
It's true.
sick. It's like, what the fuck? Why
Yeah,
don't we
I
talk
really like
cool anymore?
I really like
Why,
it.
why don't we talk cool anymore? Oh my god.
Wh-
Damn
Why don't we
me.
talk good?
Why don't
Um,
we talk good?
it's like when Trump said, "I have
God.
all the best words." That was like the best thing. Best words. Um, okay, so other witnesses, I think maybe servants, later noted that at some point before the doctors came, Mr. Shue actually took the time to dress his wife up in a dress that had a high, stiff Victorian collar, like turtleneck style.
Oh, like
And
covering up her throat?
yes,
Weird.
and a large, elaborate veil, which he then also wrapped and tied around the collar like a scarf. So she's got like double collars.
So like distorting, like obscuring and also securing her head, which is very strange.
Mm-hmm.
Very
Mm-hmm.
strange combo there. Okay.
Yeah. So at his wife's funeral, Edward was also described as like posted up by the head of the coffin and refusing to
Mhm.
let anyone get a good look at her. And like literally people were like, "Hey, can I look at her body?" And then he's just like, "Move it along. Like don't stare." Right.
Mhm.
Um he also posed and propped up her body in the coffin so she was kind of slightly sitting up. So he's kind of like fussing over her.
Mm.
Um Meanwhile, Elva's mom, Mrs. Mary J. Heaster, who lived about 14 miles away, reportedly began to have visions, not dreams, but like real ass visitations of the ghost of her slain daughter, starting several days after the funeral. Here's our ghost.
Here she is.
And during these visitations, Elva apparently first tried to speak but couldn't and then disappeared, which actually gives me the heebie-jeebies and makes me think this is kind of legitimate because I've heard that as like a thing recurring with ghosts where like they can't quite do it like at first, like they're trying to like make the connection.
They're still learning how to do it.
Yeah. And then apparently on her second, third, and fourth visits, she came back 3 more times. She got into the tea. She was spilling the tea.
So she like figured out how to make the connection and then just got into it. Okay.
Yeah. And so she then told her mother in depth about how and why she'd been murdered by Edward, which I'll get into here shortly. Sorry, I just thought there was like a bug on my leg. Do you ever have that scare?
Yes, absolutely, all the time.
I'm
and the worst part is when it is.
From the feeling of a cockroach on me a couple weeks ago. I'm still like not over it. So
yeah, I understand. I totally get it.
Okay. All right. Real horror here. Okay. So each time she visited, she expanded into more detail. I'll talk about a little bit of some of those at the end here. But when Mary tells some people about her dreams, at first a lot of them were like, okay, Mary, like, sure, right? But eventually she tells her brother-in-law, Johnson Heaster, and he's also suspicious of Edward. And after hearing these stories from the ghost, he's like, okay, I'm going to go talk to fucking Edward. And then I'm going to go talk to some witnesses like Anderson Jones, a little boy. And I'm going to like kind of snoop around here. So the brother-in-law is like, okay, fucking this guy completely killed Elva after his little mini investigation. So he goes to the county's prosecuting attorney to present his evidence. He's like, hello, I'm a respectable white man. Listen to me, right? So the attorney he goes to, named John Preston, who's very fancy for the time, looks further into the case and starts by questioning Dr. Knapp, who's the doctor who originally did the kind of knot examination and declared her death from natural causes. And when the attorney asks the doctor about this, he's like, literally the doctor is like, in so many words, like, oh yeah, I could easily be wrong. Like,
just like, oh yeah, I don't know. This is my job,
like a throwaway,
like, whatever.
That was a throwaway, like, you know, death declaration.
I was a little distracted that day. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? That's probably wrong.
That's pretty fucking wild.
Realizing obviously there's some issues with this, the John Preston, the attorney, decides that the doctor should perform a new autopsy on Elva Shue's body, and Edward, of course, is like, "No, what if don't do that?
Don't do that. Just leave the scarf on and whatever the veil."
Yeah, Edward kept saying, I don't know why they want to exhume her. They're not going to find anything. Why are they doing this? And he kept trying to put up a big stink about it, right? And apparently such exhuming a body was pretty unprecedented at the time in general, and in this area especially. So attorney Preston here really had to fight to get the permission to do so, to exhume the body. He is ultimately successful. I guess it's like a Victorian like morality thing. Like it's bad to exhume. But somehow, not only do they exhume her body, but everyone even vaguely involved, like her family, little Anderson, Edward, the husband, all gets to come for both the exhumation and the new autopsy. It's like a crowd event.
What the fuck?
I find this a lot in like 19th century shit and like and prior. Everything is done with a crowd.
Again, there's no TV. All of this is before TV.
You're bored. That's why people used to watch public executions, because it was like fucking horror movies, but
what
for
else
real.
Do we have? Yeah. I feel that.
Yeah.
I feel
so
that.
If they would sell snacks at them, you would go eat your snacks and just be like, all right, beheading on a Sunday, you know?
Yeah.
So after several days worth of autopsying, which by the way, I'm picturing exactly like a scene from one of my number one favorite Halloween movies, Sleepy Hollow, which is the when Johnny Depp does the autopsy, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And it's all gross and splurting on him. Yeah. So after several days of old-timey autopsy, the doctor discovered that her neck was fucking broken.
Weird.
Yeah, which he obviously couldn't tell from all Edward's fuckery before. And he later described that Edward dropped his head, because he's there for this like aha eureka moment of her neck's broken. Edward dropped his head like, oh no, like had this big dramatic like full body reaction. So Edward is promptly arrested and he heads to county jail to await trial without bond. And just a random note, as a little footnote here, one of the guys who will be Edward's defense attorneys, James P.D. Gardner, was the first Black attorney to ever practice in the county's court, which I thought was interesting that in West
Wow.
Virginia, he could even be an attorney. It's kind of fascinating.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
It is. Yeah.
Wow. And he defended this guy or prosecuted him?
Defended.
Well, okay. Well,
yeah.
They gave him
But
the
still,
easy cases, huh?
yeah, no, but it's just crazy that he was even like working like that.
Yeah, no, totally. But they give him like the shit cases you can't win.
Yeah. yeah. So the trial is obviously super sensationalized because the centerpiece of it is Mary Hester's testimony about a ghost.
Right.
And the prosecutors did make sure that they had more evidence than this, however, so it's not like the ghost solely convicted him.
Well, obviously
there's
he
like,
didn't because they
there's
found a
the
broken fucking neck.
there's the autopsy, there's his fucking
Yeah.
suspicious behavior, right?
Yeah.
And the doctor also testifies about the autopsy evidence and says that she specifically could not have killed herself to get those injuries. Like they're very specifically someone snapping
Doing
your
it
neck.
to you. Okay. Good to know.
Yeah. So there's more evidence besides the ghost, but obviously the ghost is fucking allowed into court, which, like I said, I don't think really would be now. It's a very 1890s moment.
Yeah.
Anderson Jones also got up and testified about Edward's general suspiciousness. And yeah, he has a lot to say.
Yeah.
So what did Elva testify, or what did rather Mary testify the ghost Elva told her, you may ask,
I do. I
about the
want to
murder?
know.
So there's a lot of stuff, but in some summary here, she said that she came home. This is fucking wild. This from Ghost Elva, and I believe her. She said that he came home that night from the shop, the blacksmith shop, and seemed angry. This is the exact quote from the ghost. I told him supper was ready, and he began to chide me because I had prepared no meat. I replied, there was plenty, bread and butter, applesauce, preserves, and other things that made a good supper. He flew into a rage, got up, and came toward me. When I raised up, he seized each side of my head with his hands, and by a sudden wrench dislocated my neck.
Okay, Mom was there somehow. She was like hiding in a closet, peering and watching what happened. There's no way it's that specific.
Yeah, she just remembered. Maybe she wrote it down, but she remembered everything her daughter said. And the way she describes the injury also matched what the autopsy recovered. So
yeah, I'm saying that she was there, man. There's no fucking way.
The ghost was there. The ghost was there, and she fucking reported
mom
back,
was
dude.
there. She was probably hiding because
No,
the daughter wasn't allowed to have her over or something.
Are real, and the ghost told her what happened. So that's what happened. But
okay,
I'm sorry. I just really think it's amazing that the motive for him snapping and killing her was that she just wanted to have like a fucking girl dinner, like a charcuterie dinner. And he was like, no, yeah, cheese and jam and like bread or whatever. And he's like, no, I need meat. Yeah, I need meat. Off. Dude, it's 1897. Fuck off. Like bread and butter is what you get sometimes.
Yeah, that's it.
In 1897. Enjoy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that is unjust. So the jury, also on the stand, his lawyers tried to really like discredit Ghost, the mom, in her ghost story, essentially. And they tried to make her say it was like a dream when she was like, no, I was fucking awake. And she said it repeatedly. You can read some of the trial back and forth if you want. It's really old timey, so I didn't want to read all of it. But yeah, she's repeatedly like, no, I was fucking awake. It's not a dream. I can tell the difference. Also, the ghost told her where she could go find like some more blood evidence in the house, and then she went to the house and she fucking found it. So it's real, Cindy.
Okay. All right.
So it's real. Stop being skeptical. It's true. So the jury returned a verdict of guilty of first-degree murder and recommended a life sentence. And many were so outraged that he didn't get the death penalty that a violent mob grew that set out with nooses to hang Edward Shue in kind of like a poetic gesture because they wanted his neck to break like he broke his wife's neck, right?
Right.
That's
poetic. Love a poetic mob.
Poetic mob. It's also very like of the time to be like, a death mob. It's very
the answer to this is a mob. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Picture like, in fucking Beauty and the Beast when they have like pitchforks and and shit. That's what I'm picturing.
Yeah, I
Angry
love
mob.
that.
So the local sheriff actually is able to persuade them not to, and is like, "Hey, just let him rot in prison, guys." And eventually, he like talks them down. So Edward is moved to a different jail for his own protection, and he
Hmm.
died 8 years later because it is olden times, and you don't live that long.
Yeah, especially not in a
So
jail or a prison.
nope. The courthouse in Lewisburg, where the case was tried and still stands, it's got a little historical marker next to it briefly
Hmm.
describing the case, and it cites this as the only known case in which testimony from a ghost helped to convict a murderer. So,
Woo! Amazing.
Elva
Very exciting.
Zona. I love the name Zona, actually. That's pretty cool. Um,
Zona. I know both an Elva and an LV.
hmm,
Mm-hmm.
that's cool.
Some names. Got
Yeah,
some
played
names
by a
up in here.
ghost.
Yeah, yeah.
There she goes.
Elva's gonna love that.
Hmm.
Um, wow. All right. Well, my story is very different than that.
Okay.
But I think very entertaining, if not a little sad. I mean, all of these stories are a little sad, but
Yeah.
um, I'm gonna talk about I'm gonna go back farther than you. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go back to 1803 in
Nice.
London. So London
Okay.
is famous for being haunted now more
Yes.
than ever. We have the Tower of London, London
Very
Dungeon.
haunted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all sorts of places where people have been horrifically tortured, beheaded, all sorts of bad things have happened. So London is a great place if you want to get down with some ghosts. So,
Oh yeah. Do some spooky
so
stuff.
yeah, and this specifically takes place in Hammersmith, which hilariously my ex was born in Hammersmith,
Oh.
and lived there the first like 8 years of his life or so. So I know this area. It's pretty bougie now. It used to be like rough as fuck. Like in the 70s, it was like not a great area. But now it's like you couldn't afford to live there if you tried. So go London. Anyway,
Okay.
this is 1803 in Hammersmith, and it's around the winter-ish time, and or like getting like fall. I think this goes on for like many months. But anyways, 1803 in Hammersmith, and many local residents start reporting what they say is a ghostly apparition or just a straight up ghost.
Okay.
Now, they see this ghostly apparition all over town at night. It's always at night. Sometimes it's near the cemetery. Other times it's near just walking down streets. And this ghost not only walks around, but it'll actually like confront people and like try to scare them and like touch them.
Dang.
Hmm. So
Very
many
bold.
believe, yeah. And many people believed that this was the ghost of a man who had just the year before killed himself and was buried on consecrated ground in the cemetery, which, according to superstition or religion or whatever at the time, meant that his soul could never be at rest. The man had died a particularly violent death, slashing his own throat, which I think fed into the idea that this was his ghost and that it was, angry and upset for not being able to rest. Many people said when they saw this ghost, it was wrapped in a large white shroud, while others said that it sometimes wore a calf skin wrapped around its body. And apparently, people saw it often enough to know its fashion. So often it was wearing white,
Sometimes
occasionally.
it's wearing this. Sometimes he changes outfits.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's got his day look, his night look.
Also, I
But
love the idea of a ghost wrapped in like a white sheet because it just reminds you of like being a literal ghost for Halloween with the sheet
yeah,
over you.
like a little kid, right? I know.
Yeah.
And everybody said that he had large glass-like staring eyes, which I find interesting.
Okay.
Like I said, some people even described being attacked by this ghost always at night in the dark. There was a rumor that two women died as a result of being frightened by this ghost. One was pregnant and one was an elderly woman. But as far as I can tell, there's no proof of that. It was, I think, just part of the lore, of the story. Like even around Hammersmith, it was probably like somebody's third cousin that had been visiting and nobody had ever met
Yeah.
or seen. So it's just one of those things that I think attached itself kind of to the legend, the local legend of this ghost. However, there were verified attacks or accounts of attacks by the ghost, uh, including that of Thomas Groom, who was grabbed by the neck from behind while walking through the cemetery on his way
Mm.
home.
Oh
He
my
said
God.
when he turned around to look at his attacker, he saw the ghost disappearing behind tombstones, like running away.
That's awesome.
Yes, and there were other accounts very similar to this. So
This
this
guy's
is
a
going
sneaky ghost. He's
Yeah, he's
sneaky.
a sneaky ghost, he's just fucking with people. Nobody really
Yeah.
knows what he wants, but he's definitely touching them.
Yeah.
So this goes on for a while, and then on December 29th, 1803, sorry, William Girdler, a night watchman, saw the figure and gave chase. As the ghost ran along the narrow lanes around the town, it removed the shroud that it wore, enabling it to run faster and avoid capture. It also made it look suspiciously like a normal ass man.
I'm like, wait a minute. I don't know if you're a shroudy ghost if you can take off your shroud.
Or if you'd need to, wouldn't you just like
You'd
disappear?
you'd rock. You'd keep rocking that shroud.
Yeah. So now the people of Hammersmith, many of whom did not believe in ghosts, were pissed. And they wanted to find this guy and stop the madness that had
Mm.
taken place over the past year.
So they're like, oh, this is just a dude attacking us. Like,
Some people felt that. Other people were
okay,
certainly afraid of ghosts. But either
right,
way, groups of men began patrolling the streets, waiting for this quote ghost to appear so they could stop and arrest him.
okay.
On the night of January 3rd, 1804, so about 5 days after this attack or so, Thomas Millwood, a 26-year-old man who worked as a plasterer, was walking home from his sister's house. While walking home, he was wearing his work clothes that you wore as a plasterer, linen trousers, a waistcoat, and an apron, and they were all newly washed and very white. So he's wearing
Okay,
flowing white linen.
okay.
He went walking along Black Lion Lane, and his sister watched him leave from her front door. Within seconds, she heard a man's voice shout, "Damn you! Who are you and what do you want? I'll shoot you if you don't speak." This was followed almost immediately by a gunshot.
Dude,
Now,
give him a lot of time. Okay,
not a lot at all. Now,
yeah.
sister here ran out into the street and found her brother Thomas dead on the ground with a gunshot to his face. His jaw was nearly blown off.
Ooh.
The man who shot him soon returned with other men, not because he thought he'd shot a ghost, but because he knew he killed a man and was horribly distraught. Now,
Mm,
so he knew what he did like immediately.
okay.
This man, Francis Smith, said that he basically freaked out when he saw Thomas coming toward him in his white clothing, and that he didn't stop advancing on him even after his warning, though the warning was like pretty fucking quick. So
Yeah, you
he
didn't have a lot of time. Also, why are you shooting a ghost? That's my first question.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and it's like it's just very, very strange. So he was charged with willful murder and was held in
Mhm.
jail awaiting trial. Meanwhile, we still haven't found the ghost, right? So
Right.
people are like, is there a ghost? Was that the guy? They're like, obviously that wasn't the guy terrorizing. Where's the ghost? Well, 2 days after this, on January 5th, 1804, local boot and shoemaker John Graham admitted that he was, in fact, the Hammersmith ghost.
Mm. So he killed the
Mhm.
wrong ghost guy, or were there multiple people wearing cloaks freaking people out?
It was just him, and he said that he did this to frighten his apprentices who had been terrifying his own children with ghost stories. So he started dressing up as a
Oh,
ghost to scare them for scaring his kids, and then I guess thought it would be funny to like fuck with other people while
just
he was
scare
at it.
anyone?
Yeah, he was just like
Wow.
going around being a scary ass
This
ghost.
reminds me of a couple years ago when there was like people just
The
standing by the side of
clowns.
the road as clowns. Yeah.
Yes, I loved that. So fucking creepy. So this man, John
Mm.
Graham, faced no charges in the end because, like, what are they going to
Oh,
charge him with?
amazing.
But Francis here, the shooter, did, and he had his trial at the Old Bailey, which is,
Nice.
I think, still around today.
Iconic. Yeah.
Very iconic. So the leading witnesses for the prosecution were actually Francis's friends who were out on patrol with him, and of course,
Mm.
Thomas's sister Anne Millwood. So
Okay.
one of his friends said, that he met up with Francis Smith shortly after the shot was fired, and that Francis was genuinely distressed and said that he willingly surrendered himself to the constable and cooperated fully. His other friend said the same thing. Basically, he was distraught over what he did. It was like heat of the moment thing. He wasn't trying to run. This wasn't like he wasn't like angry. He was, scared.
Yeah.
Thomas's sister Anne, however, came forward and was not quite as nice and forgiving. She
Okay.
insisted that the shot followed so soon after the warning that, in her opinion, Thomas would not have had sufficient time to say anything or do anything.
Yeah.
Like, the only thing he maybe would have been able to do is stop walking, which, like, you cannot be shot in the face because you don't stop walking when a stranger tells you to. Like, that's ridiculous.
No, no. Yeah.
So that was kind of her whole thing. In his defense, Francis Smith made a brief statement in which he acknowledged that he, in fact, knew he was not dealing with a ghost. He said that he challenged the man twice to stop and give his name, but he had simply continued to walk towards him. Francis said that he was afraid for his safety and in a state of panic.
Mhm.
So, not knowing what this man would do, having heard about these similar attacks, from people in graveyards and being grabbed by the neck and whatever, he shot
Mhm.
him. So he basically was like, I am scared for my life.
Sounds like
Standard.
a cop defense to me.
It really does. But the funny thing is, back in the day when this was happening, that wasn't self-defense, like, wasn't really a thing. So
Okay.
Thomas Millwood's mother-in-law, Phoebe Fulbrook, was also a witness for the prosecution. And she said on Saturday, so Thomas and his wife lived with her. And she said, on Saturday evening, he and I were at home, for he lived with me. He said he had frightened two ladies and a gentleman who were coming along, or that she's for the defense, sorry, who were coming along the terrace in a carriage. For that, the man said he dared to say, "There goes the ghost." And Thomas said he was no more a ghost than he was, and asked him, using a bad word, did he want a punch in the head? So basically, there was a story, one of the stories of the townspeople was that he had almost driven a carriage of like 8 people off the road because he had seen the ghost and was so terrified of him. Who he had actually seen was Thomas walking down the road, and when he was like, "Oh my god, you're the ghost," Thomas was like, "I'm not the ghost, you fucking idiot. Like, you want me to kick your ass? Like, you're so stupid. Like, there's no such thing as ghosts."
Oh
So
my god.
Phoebe Fulbrook here then said, "I begged of him to change his dress. 'Thomas,' says I, 'as there is a piece of work about the ghost, and your clothes look white, pray do put on your great coat, that you may not run any danger.'" So what she basically said was, dude, you're wearing all white. You've already like scared a couple of people who thought you were the ghost. They're actively out hunting for a ghost. Put on a fucking jacket so you don't look like the ghost. And Thomas was like, "These people are idiots. I'm gonna walk home in my fucking work clothes and go to bed and fuck anybody who has a problem with that." And then he ended up getting shot.
Yeah.
I modernized the interpretation there. So,
Okay.
but
Perfect.
Thomas was basically like, these people are fucking stupid, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna walk home. And the jury was like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of understandable thinking it was a ghost. The guy obviously knew that people thought he was a ghost. He didn't do anything to change it, but you don't really get to kill him. So they
No.
returned a verdict of guilty of manslaughter,
Okay.
which
So they're giving
that
him a little credit for being scared or whatever.
yeah, and like everybody in the town in the area knew what was going on. So it wasn't like some random ass defense out of nowhere. Like,
Right.
I thought he was a ghost. It's like, yeah, everybody thought that there was a ghost.
Yeah.
And other
Yeah.
people had already thought he was a ghost, whether or not you're allowed to shoot. And he didn't say he thought he was a ghost. He said that he thought he was, somebody who might hurt him based on everything going on, which is
Yeah.
makes sense. So nevertheless, Lord Chief Baron refused to accept this verdict and instead, I guess, overruled the jury, which was a thing they could do in England in 1804. And he gave Francis Smith here, he charged him with first-degree murder and sentenced him to death.
Okay. Wow.
Yep. But we're not done there. This
Okay.
sentence did not hold up, unfortunately, or fortunately, or whatever. I actually think it's fine. And instead, he was given 1 year of hard labor. So he was supposed to
Oof.
be like hanged and dissected, like dismembered after he was dead. That was like part of
Wow.
his.
Oh,
Yeah,
hung
they
and
were like,
quartered?
no, I don't
Drawn and quartered?
know. It's not drawn and quartered. That is so horrific. No, 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 no. I don't know, but in any case, he was supposed to be hanged. But the publicity given to the case persuaded, oh, what was I gonna say? Somehow persuaded whoever, I don't know, they gave him a new trial, or basically it was such a big story and people were so upset that this man who was genuinely in fear for his life, was being put to death, that it was overturned and he was given a year hard labor. So he went from fucking
Okay.
hanging and just dissecting to just a year hard labor. And in
I
fact,
mean,
that was
I was gonna say, oh, it's so horrible that they did that, and I'm like, oh, I guess we kind of still do that.
yeah, yeah, no, no, no.
Yeah,
It's yeah, so it's a
there's
good thing.
still labor. Yeah,
But the thing that kinda bummed me out is he was, like, pardoned really quickly, and I'm like, "Listen, he fucking shot somebody to death for walking home at night while wearing white, like, he should do a little bit of time, whether or not it's
right.
understandable, like, it's not okay to shoot somebody in the face, like, it's just not, I
Yeah,
don't know."
it's not. No.
But I also think back then it was more common, like, people in America, we were fucking dueling and shit in the Wild West and,
Yeah,
like,
but
having
also, if you
gunfights.
thought it was the ghost, why are you shooting a ghost?
Well,
Because they're fucking dead, and you
like I
cannot kill
said,
them.
he said he didn't think it was a ghost. He apparently was one of the people who didn't believe in ghosts and just wanted to
Mm.
find the guy. But he said the reason he shot him is because the man wouldn't stop advancing on him. And it's like, well, the guy was
Mm.
he advancing on you, or was he just continuing to walk down the sidewalk? You know, like it's a
Feels a little.
different
It just feels coppish to me.
the way that you
Like,
frame it is real important there.
help,
Like
a guy! I must shoot him.
he was walking, I had to shoot him in the face and kill him dead. Yeah, so that's the thing. It's like I feel like a lot of people um I feel like a lot of people, I don't know. I don't know. Like they understood where he was coming from, but I don't know. In any case, not only did he um get pardoned, but they actually used his case to implement some sort of like kind of self-defense case
Hmm.
for other people, where if you harm basically if you harm somebody who you believe is in the midst of a commission of a crime, then you can be not held responsible for whatever happens. So really interestingly, like, so I guess one time, in 1984, there was a case, Regina versus Williams. Gladstone
Hmm.
Williams saw a man dragging a youth, like a young kid, who was screaming out for help along a street. And this man, Gladstone, this was in 1984, and his name was Gladstone, and that's not me saying the wrong year. So
Okay.
Mr. 1984 Gladstone here thought that the man was using excessive violence against the youth, the boy. So he um attacked and injured the man who was hurting the youth, attempting to stop him from hurting the youth. Now, as it turned out, the youth was actually the perpetrator of a violent act, and the man was holding him and
Mm,
trying to like keep him till the police came. But Gladstone was everything he did was on good faith. Like he thought he was being
right.
helpful. He
Just
thought he was
misunderstood the
yeah, he
situation. Yeah.
misunderstood the situation, and he ended up getting off because they were like, you know, it's a
Right.
misunderstanding. You did what you thought was right, whatever. So this case from 1804 directly impacted a case from 1984. Yeah, so
Mm.
ghosts are straight up writing laws in England, is what I'm trying to say.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah. Ghost law.
ghost law. So there
Okay.
it
Very
is.
spooky.
There's the story. It is spooky, I think.
I love the
Um,
vision of this guy with a sheet on him, like, wow, just like running around.
And then, like, some days he's like, "I'm cold. I'm gonna put on, like, an animal skin," and
Yeah,
nobody would
yeah.
care, like,
Ghosts gotta
so
get cozy sometimes.
what's funny to me is that didn't tip people off that it wasn't a ghost, it was him actually, like, shedding his fucking sheet for them to be
Yeah.
like, "That's not a ghost, that's a man." Like, "Yeah, dude, he was wearing different outfits, like, come on." I love that. I felt like your story was very you, and I felt like my story was very me. Because with you, it's definitely a ghost and there's no other explanation, and with me, it's definitely not a ghost and there is an explanation, so I feel like that's personality matching at its finest.
It's true. I picked one where I was 100% sure the ghost solved the case.
Yeah, and I picked one where I was 100% sure that there was no ghost, so there you go. That sums us up pretty good.
Yeah,
Alright, so there they are, the first 2. Thanks everybody for listening. Please like, rate, review. We got some more reviews. We're like getting it's crazy to have reviews from so many people that we don't know. And I just
Yeah.
or like some of them we do, but only through the podcast. You know what I mean? I love that. So anyway, I think that's really special. So thanks guys, like, rate, review, join us for the next one. It'll probably be coming out soon because I'm going to Joshua Tree for the weekend and we got to get these recordings out. So
Oh yeah.
stay
Okay.
tuned for maybe some potentially back-to-back stuff. And
Okay.
until the next half of this kind of fun topic,
It is fun. Stay.
off our
This.
stab up. Bye.